How's it going, everyone? I am Lucy, and I am here with Luke today.
I am Luke.
Now, we are going to talk about the Toy Story 4 announcement that just hit the internet today. Now, this is massive.
Yeah, this is
Toy
huge.
Story 4, and it's being directed by the original director of Toy Story and the master, well, one of the co-founders of Pixar, John Lasseter.
Yeah, and he really is he's kind of the key. He's the master key behind this past 8 years of Disney dominance.
Yeah, well, he's been...
This is massive that he's coming back to do this movie.
Absolutely. First of all, just before we sort of like have a chat about what we might think that movie could look like, I just want to ask you, how do you feel? Obviously, this is kind of a divisive announcement because Toy Story was very much a complete trilogy. It's frequently touted as one of the most complete trilogies ever made. So I'm very interested to hear what you think of this announcement.
I agree with everything you said. I think the Toy Story trilogy is just a remarkably beautiful and neat sort of trio of films, and I think it ended amazingly. And I don't disagree with anybody who's sort of taken to the internet today to say, but it ended so great.
Taken to the internet.
It's it ended so perfectly and all that sort of stuff. It's like I do not disagree with any of that. I think Toy Story 3, the ending of Toy Story 3 was one of the best endings of any film I've seen. But I would also say to you, if you're watching this and you're kind of like, this is a terrible idea, we're going to ruin everything, I would say to you, with respect, that I think the ending of Toy Story 3 sets this up nicely. It kind of, you're Andy. You know, I know, like, the original Toy Story was 19 years ago now. And we've all grown up and we're 30, 40, or whatever like that. But, you know, we're Andy. And Bonnie... That's the new kids, you know what I mean? They weren't alive when the first Toy Story came out, but making them there is nothing wrong with making them a new Toy Story film, you know what I mean? Like, so there's that, and I think the other thing that is getting missed is, and something we touched on just a second ago, John Lasseter is key here. John Lasseter is an animation genius. You look at the kinds of films that they were making before he took over, so he's kind of like he's kind of like the overseer of all this sort of stuff. Like, you got Treasure Planet and Chicken Little. Those kinds of films are never spoken of in the same breath as the kinds of films they've been making in the past 8 years. And I'm not talking about just at Pixar, I'm talking about over at Disney Animation Studios, like Wreck-It Ralph, and Tangled, and Frozen.
Yeah, well,
you look at Toy Story 3 and Frozen, you're talking about billion-dollar animated films.
He's kind of, John Lasseter, since he joined at Disney when that whole merger happened, he's kind of his involvement is frequently attributed to this new Disney Renaissance period that we're currently in, which is amazing.
Like, at the premiere for Big Hero 6 down here that we were at, they discussed that exact thing.
Yeah.
Just how important he's been.
Yeah. All right, so let's just quickly speculate as to what this film could actually be. Now, John Lasseter has come out. He did an interview with the LA Times, and he said it's going to be a love story, and it's going to pick up after where Toy Story 3 left off. So that pretty much cancels out any kind of idea of a prequel or a spin-off or whatever.
There's no Monsters University
style thing.
Yep.
So a love story, I think that's really interesting, and I think that one sort of potential road they could possibly go down. Remember how Bo Peep was kind of unceremoniously written out of Toy Story 3?
I do remember that.
And that was just kind of
and
like...
he was kind of sad about it.
Yeah, and it was really sad. It was kind of touching, but there were no further details around that. It was just like, oh, Bo Peep's gone. Oh, Peep.
Because he wasn't Andy's toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I sort of found that quite moving, and I'm wondering if that could be where they're going with this.
Maybe. It could be anything, really. It's so vague.
Yeah.
A love story.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really have any ideas. I don't know if I can go through another child giving their toys away to another child and me trying not to cry about it. So.
Well, yeah. I think that's it. I really like this idea that they're actually moving away from that kind of theme. Because they have to. They can't do it again.
Well,
they can't play with that theme again because it was so perfectly wrapped up. So I really like this idea that it's a love story. And I do think, if we're going to stick with the original toys, obviously Jessie and Buzz are sort of an item, as much as these characters can be an item in this world. They're toys.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Kind of weird.
But yeah, I really like the idea that it could be Woody and Bo Peep, because that's pretty much all we've got at this point from that little revelation from Lasseter. He has basically said, listen, we know how perfectly the original trilogy was tied up. We had no plans on making a new Toy Story at all because of that reason. But now he and the original Toy Story trilogy writing team have come together and had this new idea. And he has said, look, I couldn't let it go. I'm so excited. It's a whole brand new thing.
Well, and we should be excited about that. Like, if John Lasseter comes out and says that I've got a great idea for a movie, we should probably take him for his word on that.
Absolutely. Now, I just quickly want to touch on also the fact that, this is 2014. At this point,
it is.
At this point, and it'll be 2017 when the film comes out. At this point, Disney owns Marvel and Disney owns Star Wars. Now, what could that possibly mean in terms of a potential Lego movie style crossover of iconic characters from those franchises?
Well, I would be surprised. I'd be pleasantly surprised, but I'd be surprised if there was kind of a big focus on anything like that.
Right.
I think it's a great point to bring up, because I think in a post-Lego movie world, which was an amazing film, I thought that film was so imaginative and so charming, and touched on a few of those things. Like, you had the spoiler, Star Wars cameo in the Lego movie.
Yeah.
It's a great point. I don't know whether it sort of fit. I know the Toy Story films have used some licensed toys in the past, like Mr. Potato Head, of course.
And Barbie and Ken.
And Barbie and Ken, naturally, like, obvious choices. I don't know whether or not that feels kind of Pixar-y, that they'd... Maybe...
That they'd go there.
Yeah, maybe you'd chuck a Spider-Man toy in or something. But I don't feel like it'd be like you'd have a big ensemble of...
No, I agree with you.
Superhero action figures suddenly appear.
I don't think it's going to be a focus, but I do like the idea. I mean, Pixar has shown that they're willing to kind of use these brands in comedic ways, and I think they did that really well with Barbie and Ken. So it'll be really interesting to see what they can do, how far they can push playing around with Marvel and Star Wars toys.
But I wonder, but I guess I wonder, because when you look at the Lego movie, that being a Warner Brothers film didn't really stop that great little cameo from the Lucasfilm characters.
Yeah.
So you kind of maybe you look at it and say, well, Pixar's like, well, we kind of have access to this because we're Disney, but it's kind
we'll
of
see.
I don't know, but I guess in
all likelihood, it's the only way we will ever see a Marvel Star Wars crossover. Let's be honest.
That's true. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a Spider-Man swing in and do something like a cool action figure. Like, I had all those crazy action figures when I was a kid, and I still have them now, actually. But I guess there's one more point I want to make.
Yep.
Just in case there's anything you wanted to say.
No.
I think one thing that we have to remember is that when Pixar come out and make announcements like this, it's like, we're doing a Toy Story 4, and there's sort of a bit of, there's people get their knickers in and not a little about it, and say, oh, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, you should be making original films, why are you focusing on Toy Story 4? So, well, Pixar, they don't make one film at a time. Pixar's a big place, and you think about the films that they are making, there's Inside Out, there's The Good Dinosaur,
Finding Nemo 2.
There's like Finding Dory. We know that there's Incredibles 2. Like, Incredibles, like, everyone's like, make another Incredibles film, make another Incredibles film. They are making another Incredibles film. There's Cars 3 even, which kids love. And there's the guy who directed Toy Story 3 is making it's an untitled film at the moment, the Day of the Dead movie.
Yeah.
They're making so many movies. And if you're against the idea of Toy Story 4, I understand Toy Story 3 wrapped up perfectly, but,
Cool your jets is what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many. It's just like the Bonnies of the world need Toy Story.
Yeah.
Think about how important Toy Story is to you.
Toy Story was
as a kid.
to you.
It was to you as a kid back in 1995. In the late 90s, and there's many good reasons for that to continue. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's it for our Toy Story discussion. For more on Toy Story 4, stick with IGN.